a special extra episode of Fun with Whole Foods because I've got a few different pie recipes that are going to be coming up, and I'm just going to show you the once how to make a vegan gluten-free pastry base, because I know a lot of people will pre-buy a pie base or already have their favourite pastry recipe. So this is just an alternative if you don't. It's not perfect. The pastry is a bit more soft than really crisp, but I've tried the best I can to get a decent pastry. That's both vegan and gluten free. It's really not easy. So we're going to start off with chickpea flour or gram flour, and we want 80 grams of that into a bowl. Now this recipe is one of the first ones where I am very definitely weighing out. It's very difficult to get the amounts right just using cups. So we've got 80 grams of our chickpea flour. They're going to use a bit of oat flour and just 20 grams of oat flour into there. The next key dry ingredient is 2 teaspoons, which is quite a lot, of xanthan gum, which you can find generally in the free-from section of your supermarket or on Amazon. And that's your basic dry mixture. One thing that I do a lot with pastry is I add a bit of flavour into the pastry according to what type of pie I'm making. So in the blog post I'll show a few different ones that I do. I'm about to do a pumpkin spice today, so I'm going to just pop in a teaspoon of pumpkin spice blend. For the vegan chocolate silk pie that's coming in a couple of weeks, put in a bit of cocoa. But your basic is 80 grams of chickpea flour, 20 grams of oat flour, 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum, and then add a little bit of spice or flavouring according to what type of pie you are making. So you just want to mix together the dry ingredients. Then for the fats, I use the solid block of stork, which is the secret to perfect biscuits, scones and pastry. But it's as close texture-wise as I can get to butter. I tried coconut oil and pastry just fell apart. So pop in 60 grams. Technically, a lot of people say to cube it, which I normally would, but I tear it up once it's in there. And then you want to rub it till roughly breadcrumbs like you would a normal pastry. So rubbing the fat into the flour, or the flour mix. Now I've tried doing this with a pre-blended gluten-free pastry blend and it fell apart, or it was too dry. So you might have a better recipe. You don't need to use this one, which is why I'm doing it as a separate video. But we've roughly mixed in the fat. You can see there's still some bigger bits in, but I'm going to leave that because that should make it a little bit more flaky. I'm just going to rinse off my hands. And then I can feel the stickiness of the xanthan gum. I hate working with xanthan gum. Right, and then still following the cold rule for pastry. So ice water, obviously you don't need a whole bowl of ice water. Start off around 1/4 cup. You sort of add the water until it's right and mix. I use a knife to mix, some people say to use forks. And you will see the pastry come together. That was possibly a bit too much water. Into a nice lump. Yeah, that's a bit damp, but we'll go with it, we'll work with it. very common instruction of pastry to then wrap this in cling film and let it rest in the fridge. I have found it makes absolutely no difference to the final texture if I let it rest or not. So I'm going to use oat flour for flouring my base to roll it out on. So pop it there, squash it down a little bit, toss a bit of oat flour on top as well. Always use too much flour to roll, I find. Move that out. Then you roll a little bit, twizzle it, roll, turn by a quarter, roll, turn by a quarter. Sort of periodically flip it as I can feel that that's getting a bit wet. So keep an eye on it. Now this will feel soft compared to if you're used to making pastry with gluten flour, wheat flour and butter. This is a lot softer in comparison in texture. And so roll it out, grab your pie tin, and last time I did this the pastry fell apart, so roll it up onto your rolling pin and then into your pie tin. Just very gently push it down and into the corners. I'm pushing it into the flutes as well. I'm quite pleased it's not falling apart this time. Okay, and then just go around the edges like you would normal pastry. Just neaten off that top. Then I should have prepared earlier. Your greaseproof paper, and my trick for blind baking, always scrunch up the greaseproof, unscrunch it and scrunch again. If you scrunch it a few ways, it'll just fit easier because you've already got that creasing and that bending into the paper. Then it's already very willing to move and fit to your pastry. And then you blind bake. You can get proper blind baking beans, or I just got, I think these are cannellini beans, and to keep them separate from ones you might later on boil and soak and cook, because after you've been using them for blind baking they won't do that. So fill it with baking beans, and if you're doing a pie recipe where you will be baking it with the filling in, you want to blind bake for about 15 minutes on gas mark 6. If you're doing a pie recipe where you want the case completely cooked because it's cold pie, then blind bake it for about 15 minutes and open bake it for 10 to 15 minutes until the pastry's cooked thick. So pop that in the oven, and that is how you make a vegan gluten-free pastry base. So I hope that's helpful for you. I hope it turns out okay-ish for you, and I'll see you with a pie recipe very shortly.